Let's take a look at what happened with the top 10 in the AP rankings in week 1 of college football. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, and Florida State, plus a couple other ones. Michigan, not good. The offense is horrible. Absolutely, horrendously horrible. Defense, elite. Their schedule, they're going to have a tough time. They ain't making it back to the playoffs this year. They get Texas next Saturday, and they're getting their butts kicked. They get USC on the 21st, and they're losing to the Trojans. They go to Washington. That'll be a tough matchup. Oregon and Ohio State to end the season. Michigan is not going back to the playoffs. Clemson, they might have been overranked at 14, you think, by a ranking. Clemson doesn't even deserve to be ranked right now. They're overrated. They are horrendous. They should not be ranked. Bad, bad, bad. Ohio State, their defense, it is still elite. Their offense, not elite. Look what they had to do just to beat Akron. Do not let that score fool you. What is wrong with the Ohio State offense? Oregon, I'm sorry, Duck fans, but I would not have guessed that they would be this bad already. Look what it took for them to get past Idaho. Oregon, they're not winning the Big Ten. I probably had them as a high favorite to win the Big Ten before the season started. Not after what I saw this last weekend. What happened, Duck fans? Alabama, roll tide. Bama did Bama things. Nick Saban was up in the box suite looking good, just like the offense and the defense did. Alabama is still Alabama. Texas, by far the second best team in the SEC, behind Georgia, but in front of Alabama. Ole Miss, they looked great, but let's be honest, they played Furman. Lane Kiffin had his offense flying with Jackson Dart throwing 272 yards and 5 touchdown passes. Now that's a Lane Kiffin offense, we know. Trey Harris had 8 receptions for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. If Kiffin can get their defense to make stops against other SEC teams, they might be a player in the SEC this year. Notre Dame, they didn't look great, but they survived the SEC and Texas A&M winning 23-13. Riley Leonard didn't look good. He completed 18 of 30 passes for 158 yards, and he didn't even have a touchdown pass. Jeremiah Love had only 14 rushes for 91 yards and the game's touchdown. Their defense made plays when needed to get the win in week number 1. Penn State looked solid against West Virginia, winning 34-12. Drew Allar completed just 11 of 17 passes, but he had 216 yards and 3 touchdowns. Singleton had 13 carries for 114 yards and a touchdown. Their defense looked okay, but I don't think they have what it takes to stop teams like UCLA's offense or USC's offense. They might have the easiest schedule in the Big Ten, though, so we'll see how far Penn State can go. Florida State. 0-2 in week 1. Their season is over. 2 ACC losses in week 1 for Florida State. Fire the coaches. The season is over. Get rid of DJ. Bench him. He has 50% completion ratio. He threw 42 times in game number 2, the game that they just lost to Boston College. He threw it 42 times. He did have an interception, and he was sacked 3 times. Maybe try to run the ball, all right? DJ can't be your only runner. He did run 8 times for a combined -5 yards, while the rest of the team only had 8 carries combined. Florida State, get them out of the rankings. USC Trojans, my Trojans got the job done and outlasted LSU the other night 27-20. Lincoln Riley had the offense playing like we know it should play. Calm, cool, and collected, and making big plays. Now their defense, normally, we're shitty at best. However, Deontay Lynn coming in and overhauling the defense, this is not the same defense that we're used to, especially if you're a Trojan fan. This may not be a Pete Carroll era defense just yet. However, I like what I see, and we've got something to work with. I like what I'm seeing with the Trojans after week 1. If they can survive Michigan in week 3, which I believe they will, I believe they'll be on their way to winning the Big Ten and playoff bound. Georgia on my mind. They are by far still the best team in all of college football. They are the best college football team in the entire country. From the West Coast to the East Coast, north to the South, there is not a better team in college football, then Georgia. They're winning it all again. They're not losing a game this season. Nobody is beating Georgia. Bet them now while the odds are somewhat in your favor.